I don't know the last thing. Let's see.
It was probably about April, because you know what? I remember basketball being on because we were talking about the Suns, and it was like playoffs. Yeah, it definitely was. All right, so I think we're live now. All right, so if you're watching, yeah, we're live now. We've been talking for a second. So I'm here with my guy, Zach. If y'all don't remember Zach, we did one of these interviews. I forgot we did one. We did one of these back in April, talking about his progress after his first 16 weeks. So I definitely wanted to give you guys an update on how he's doing so far. So he's down about 40 pounds in 8 months. If you guys are new to, I was about to say the channel. If you guys are new to my network, new to my page, my content, just want to reintroduce Zach here, man. Hell of a guy to work with. And I figure you just telling your story here, a lot of people would be able to relate to that, because I know I work with a lot of former athletes, a lot of guys who, maybe they're spinning their wheels in the gym, they're working out consistently, and they're not getting to where they want to get to, or maybe they were somebody who was in great shape in the past, but then they got busy with work, and then they got busy with their family and their personal life, and they just kind of fell off their routines with their fitness goals. And I think you're somebody who can speak very well to that, and I think you're a great example of what it's like to overcome that. So definitely want to get you here again to talk to folks about what you've been doing, some updates on your situation, and kind of go from there. So for people who are new here, who is Zach? You know what I mean? Like, what are we?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about your lifestyle, man, because I know you're very busy.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we've been working since, January together. So I know, like you said, we did one a while back, but obviously there's been a lot happen that has happened since then too, But yeah, I mean, before that, man, I've been working out for let's see, I'm 31, 15, 16. So, I mean, 14, 15 years, I've been working out. And even at one point I was a personal trainer, went and got qualified and everything. And, but yeah, I mean, I always felt like I was missing something because I was always working out 6 days a week, but, all the guys around me had six packs. I didn't have that. I was a little bit bigger. So I was always trying to figure out what the heck was going on. But I always had that old school mentality too of like, I knew, okay, before workout, I need to eat something, maybe like carbs. After workout, I need carbs, I need calories. But now that I look back, it was very skewed, not really knowing how much to eat or any of that. It was just more of like, oh, I need calories because I worked out hard. And so I always saw my weight climbing. So, I mean, my heaviest, when I started working out, I was probably 160. And my heaviest I got to was like 230 at one point. When I started working with you, I was like 222.
Yeah, something like that, like
221, somewhere around there. Yeah. I'd always fluctuate around from there. And I guess you could say it looked like I worked out, just because I was at the gym 6 days a week. And, but I mean, I wasn't, I was the type that I would try to focus on. I know we talked about this, but I would change my workouts out every week because I was trying to do like muscle confusion. Right.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of that stuff. I wasn't deadlifting at all. I hardly benched. I would do like dumbbells with bench, flat bench dumbbells. And then obviously I would just try to change the workout. I mean, when I started talking to you, I was like to the point where I was doing like heavy workout with some CrossFit stuff at the end. So I was working out for an hour and a half, 2 hours, sweat. I mean, dripped in sweat. And then I'd get on the scale and I'd be gaining weight, So yeah, man, it wasn't until I started working with you, and obviously we made those, made some changes, that I started seeing results actually super quick. So.
Yes. And they weren't big changes either. Like, you were already doing the work. You were already like, you knew what healthy eating looked like, but it was just like, all right, we make a couple small tweaks in terms of where your focus is being placed when you do these things. And then you just kick off, man. You did them consistently. But something you said stood out. It's almost like you believe that working harder was always necessarily a good thing, right? Would you say that's accurate? Like,
oh yeah, just work harder at the gym.
Yeah.
Because I never faulted that, right? I mean, I feel like I was always good in that area. Like, I didn't miss a day. I always took Sundays off, but man, I felt like I was really dialed in at the gym. But it was just crazy to me. Like, you can be as dialed as you want at the gym, but if it's not right in the kitchen, like, dude, you're not going to see the results that you want to see. You may see some, right? but you're not gonna see like, a lot of people have these goals and you're not gonna reach those if you don't have both, you
Mhm.
know. And I would go to say now, I mean, with confidence, I mean, it's a different type of workout, right? But I don't feel like I work out as hard as I did before I started working with you. And I'm seeing more gains in the gym. Uh, we're having a hard time even keeping my weight up right now.
Yeah, we'll get to
and, I,
that. We'll get to
and I'm
that.
eating more food than I ever
Yeah.
have, you
Yeah.
know? Um,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, man, it's just crazy, like just making those small tweaks that we did. But obviously like integrating your workouts, which obviously they're nothing like, it's not like you have proprietary workouts, but the way that you set them
Yeah.
up for that person, um, you really try to personalize it for that person, and like getting good at deadlifts, benching, those key workouts, I think really help too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you're saying it's almost counterintuitive. Like people think you need to work harder. First of all, we know you can't
yeah,
outwork a bad diet, right? Like there's that school of
yeah,
thought. But even in the gym, just if we're isolating that variable, like just working harder, I think a lot of guys like yourself, people think
yeah.
is a good thing all the time. And it's like you said, we're not always working as hard and we're seeing more results. Like that's
Well, and to go back to that, I would say lifting weights. I'm lifting harder, obviously, because we're pushing, you're pushing me. We're getting pushed to like do these weights that we've never done before. So
Mhm.
I would say weightlifting wise, I work harder. Um, Cardio wise, I'm doing maybe a third of what I was doing. So on that aspect of like working harder and like feeling like you need to be sweating, dripped in sweat, and you need to be out of breath,
Yeah.
um, that side of me was super skewed because that's not what it is at all.
Yeah, yeah, right. And it's like you do things, a certain way for so long. And I know you told me about you worked out with your dad and like playing
Yeah.
sports growing up. I feel like a lot of former athletes and guys like yourself, you guys are conditioned to think that if you're not laying in a pile of sweat at the end of every workout, then it wasn't effective.
Oh, for sure.
It's like you're creating the illusion of hard work, and
For
you
sure,
are
man.
working hard, right? But it's like creating the illusion of working hard as opposed to like actually driving progressions in the gym and doing what you're supposed to,
Yeah.
and just following the plan, right? It's like okay, I can wring my shirt out. That means I had a good workout. It's like
Yeah.
that's how we're scale. That's how we're measuring whether or not we had a good workout. Just
Yes.
how shitty we feel if we can't walk up the stairs and we're sore or we're out
Yeah.
of breath or we're sweating a
Feeling
lot.
sick to your
That's
stomach. Yeah.
yeah, you're feeling 60 or something, you're throwing up all over the stairs at the gym, like whatever it is, yakking all over the locker room, falling
Yeah.
out, passing out, whatever it is. That's sometimes what I see guys, how I see guys like measure whether or not they had a good workout. And that's to me, that's just not sustainable, man. Not every workout needs to be balls to the wall every time. Like we have calculated times where we push, especially
Yeah.
as we're getting more advanced for you, like almost a year in, it's like, all right, some weeks are going to be light weeks on purpose. Some weeks are going to be a deload. And then some weeks we push and we're going to go for that PR, but it's not every single session. It's like very planned out at this point. So,
Oh yeah, it's precise, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you say you've tried on the nutrition side of things? Cause I heard you say earlier that was really what you struggle with. Like, yeah, you were going to the gym consistently, but the diet was the piece that you need to dial in more to start seeing to kind of get everything clicking on
Yeah.
cylinders.
Yeah, man. I think the biggest thing for me, I mean, we talked about this I still remember our phone calls because we had like three of them before I even signed up. But
Yeah.
um,
Something like that.
for me growing up, my dad was very, we grew up rough. We didn't grow up with a lot of money. And so it was like, hey, whatever's on your plate, you eat it. That's it. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't, whatever you ordered at the restaurant, that thing better be lit clean, or whatever's on your plate that your mom made or whatever was made, you eat it.
Yeah, we don't
Um,
waste food, man.
and it's funny how you take that even as you're older, right? And so like for me, uh, I would eat whatever, right? Like if it was on my plate, I was eating all of it. And sometimes going back for seconds and thirds. But in my mind, it was like, oh, well, I've got meat here, I've got carbs here. Instead of yellow cheese, it's white cheese, so it's healthier. I
Right.
just
You just make up
thinking
little rules.
stuff, yeah,
Yeah.
like stuff like that, man. So, oh, well, it doesn't matter how much I eat of it, it's good stuff. So it's like, oh, if there's a chicken burrito right here, well, yeah, there's only cheese, a tortilla and chicken in it. So it's healthy, you know, which, right, it could be. But I think for me, it was moderation. Like you don't have to eat until you're like full. And when I say that, it's like, I feel like, you know, maybe I'm speaking just for myself, but I mean, maybe I'm speaking for other people, but you
Yeah.
feel like every meal you have to eat and eat until you're like full, you know, like, oh
Yeah.
man, I can't eat anymore. Um, when in reality, I've kind of realized like, uh, you basically like, you just need to eat until you're not hungry anymore, man, you know?
Yeah. Just
But
till you're satisfied. Yeah.
right, until you're satisfied. But with that, it's like making sure you're getting the most out of your calories that you do eat, you know? And so I think that was the biggest thing for me was like getting my protein intake up. Um, and also realizing that carbs aren't bad. You know?
Yeah.
Um, I feel like we go into that, like I'm sure with what you deal with, because I feel like that's what a lot of like these gurus teach is like, hey, if you want to lose weight, cut carbs. And you probably get a lot of people. And that's why I feel like people go on these diets and they can't even sustain what they're doing, man, because they go straight from chicken to broccoli, you know? So with you, it wasn't like that. It was like, oh no, like we're going to keep eating what you're eating. And when you first sign up with you, you're like, hey, um, just like log what you eat. I just want to see how you're eating.
Yeah. And
You know? So
it's
you're
like,
really not
oh,
even changing anything. You're just like, hey, I just want to see how you're eating. And you just made some tweaks. Like, okay, hey, this is like every meal should have like, you know, this, it's all should be portioned out, you know? So I think that was the biggest thing for me was like, obviously the protein intake, um, and moderation. So,
yeah, definitely. Because I remember when we first started talking, like back in January, December, whatever it was, you definitely were placing a lot of these good and bad labels on foods just because you
mhm,
had to unlearn a lot of bullshit you've probably been told your whole life. But it's like you were labeling things as good and bad instead of following principles of nutrition. Like you
yeah,
realize there is no good and bad, there just is. And it's up
yeah,
to us to determine the context of whether or not something fits that situation eating wise. So I
yeah,
think you were able to do that. And it's like, yeah, you realize, all right, it's about moderation. It's about how much we eat in the beginning. Then it's about hitting our protein goal. And then, you know, if we want to talk about meal timing at some point, that's advanced stuff, but we don't even, you know, that's something to get to later on down the road. It's not
yeah.
inherently that, you know, eating carbs after 6 is bad, or if I skip breakfast, that's bad. It's just like understanding what principles are appropriate at the right time. And you were able to, you know, think for yourself at that point.
Oh yeah, man. Just like learning, obviously, because in my head all the time it was like, oh, McDonald's is bad. It's not good for you.
Yeah.
But like in all honesty, I feel like you could actually do a pretty good job by eating McDonald's,
If
and
you
still
really
stick.
wanted to. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, right. Like if you didn't have a choice, and if like you're always on the road, I think that's my biggest takeaway of I've learned in the 8 months, especially on food, is like you can make anything work. It's all about the moderation and even how you're ordering the stuff. You know,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. Because I
I'll
mean,
give
even
you
just from,
yeah.
I mean, when we did our last interview, I think I was 195,
Yeah.
uh, 190 or 195, because that was the original goal. And
Yeah.
it really put me to the test after that, because if you remember, I bought that house, and I was remodeling it full time.
You didn't have a kitchen.
I didn't have a kitchen. I was gone from, you know, 5, 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was getting home at 10 o'clock at night. And so by that time, you know, I'd reach out to you, man. I'd already had a good idea, right? We've already hit some goals, but we weren't done. If you remember, we got down to 195, and then you're like, hey, let's get down to 185. So
Yeah.
we cut calories again. Um, and honestly, I was living off of Chipotle, and McDonald's.
Yeah.
At least 2
Sounds
meals a
bad,
day
right?
with those two,
Sounds bad. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I'm grateful I went through that, because like I was still sticking to my fats, my carbs, and my protein goals every day, you know? So there's ways to do it. And I mean, now I'm at 184, 183, right? And like, so now we're trying to like gain weight, but it's, but yeah, I mean, just the fact that you can still reach your goals by eating these foods that are not, you know, essentially good for you. But you can still find ways to get it done, you know?
Yeah. And I think the biggest piece of that is like, cool, we found a way to do it with those foods. But I think so many people don't even get to that point because they still have this good and bad label around things. So it's like, if you
Yeah.
already think that's bad, then you're not even going to be open to thinking about how you could make those foods work if you had to. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, man.
Just give
For
up
sure.
altogether and say, oh, I can only eat bad foods now. So I guess I just might as well not prioritize this area of my life right now. I'll try.
Yeah, well,
You know what I'm saying?
and
And
that's
it's
what I
every
was
year.
just gonna say. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like there's so many people out there that like think, well, I mean, I travel for work, or I don't have time to do that, or I don't have time to cook at home. And you know, and there's situations like that. But it's cool to see that there is a way. Um, you know, it's just more of like having someone like you, or, you know, giving it a shot of at least learning, you know,
Yeah.
because it's like, dude, now look, I feel like I've come, man, in the 8 months, it's like my whole mindset has changed, you know, about food. And I mean, even weightlifting, you know, because now we have new goals. We're starting to get into different categories as far as weightlifting and everything goes. But just the food by itself, man, like mine has totally changed about that. So
Right, for sure, man. And that, even another good example I was gonna say is like when you were at Disney with the family, and it's like
yeah.
people think they can't find good options at these theme parks and these fast food restaurants. Dude, you're texting me about how you're like scoured the park and you found like turkey legs, and you found like somewhere you could get like a steak and rice
Oh,
type of meal. I'm like,
yeah,
bro, you
man.
found something to work at Disney. So many people would have made excuses there, like not.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's so many good foods, man. I mean, and you didn't even have to look hard. I mean, it was just like you get on the Disney app, and yeah, they had a place that had skewers. I mean, you could get a bread bowl, you know, with sourdough bread. Like, we found this one restaurant that had just like, I got rotisserie chicken with mashed potatoes and green beans, and
Yeah,
it was freaking good, dude. You know, and then obviously, you know, if you want to take a bite of churro here and there, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
right.
it's even places. It's just crazy. Like once you open your eyes and you get into this, and you can actually see like even places like Disney, you can still stick to your macros. You know, you can still
Always
stick.
find exactly what you're looking for, right?
Yep,
Like,
exactly. Well, yeah, you just have to be looking for it. You
yeah,
know, if you're not looking for it, then it's like if you're just plainly walking around, oh yeah, let's get a churro and a deep fried chimichanga. You know, right
yeah,
there.
exactly.
You know, yeah,
Yeah. So obviously we made a lot of progress for the entire 8 months, but I know when we did a talk like this back in April, you were down to 195, and we
yeah.
were still working towards our like fat loss goals. Now, 4 months after that, where would you say you're at now with your health and fitness? If we're just giving people an update in terms of like the progressions, like I
Oh
know
man,
first
dude,
diet and all that, but like where would you say
I
you're at?
think me and you are both surprised.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, because I mean, right now, because what, man, we got down to 2,300 calories. We finally reached our goal, you know, of losing weight, but now it was like, okay, well, we want to get stronger, you know. And so now we've been going through, and it's called the maintenance period, right? Where we're trying to see how many calories I can get away with, but still stay at that 185 before we start doing a bulk later on, you know. And man, what are we at? 28. We're at 2,850 calories right now.
Yeah. You're eating more than you were when you were probably gaining weight
When
before.
we when we first started my cut at 222 pounds, I was at 2,700 calories. So I'm
Yeah.
150 calories more. We're probably gonna have to raise it again.
Yeah. Definitely.
I weighed in at 182.9 today.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah. We'll
So
talk tomorrow about that.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's crazy to see now, like after you put in the work and you're, you know, you're sticking to your goals. Now I feel like your body is like, you know, it's like a well-oiled machine, man. Now it's like you're able to eat more calories than you ever have been able to, you know.
Right. And it's, yeah, this is the I guess the long-term vision for guys like Zach. So just explaining what Zach's talking about here. It's like I always tell Zach included and my other guys that the hardest part of the process is that initial fat loss. Like if you got 50 pounds to lose,
dude,
that part, you know, it's not the most fun because you're eating less food, your metabolism is not that high, you haven't worked out in a while, you're getting sore. It's just not it's probably the most sufferable part of the process.
yeah,
But one thing that people fear is when they get down there, oh my God, I'm going to have to eat less than 2,000 calories for the rest of my life to keep this
that
on.
was
Like
me.
you felt that too. And
Yep.
dude, everybody I works with thinks that. But the cool thing is if you can see it out long enough, like Zach has, you know, 8 months later, 8 months later, whatever it took for us to get to that final fat loss goal, now we're moving in the other direction. We're doing something called a reverse diet where we're adding like 50 to 100 calories every week and he's
Yeah.
still maintaining his weight. funny enough, he was actually losing weight when we were adding calories. So we had to get more aggressive with some of the jumps. And the cool thing is now he can spend most of the calendar year eating more food, because now we're slowly trying to gain some weight, trying to gain some muscle, so that the next time he cuts, it's not going to take 8 months. It's only going to take 2 or 3 months max. And
Oh yeah.
he's going to be eating more food when he does lose weight. He may be at 2,600, 2,700 instead of 2,300, whatever you were at. It's pretty cool. We can spend most of the year building when you do this process the right way, but you have to see it out long enough to get to that point first. And I think that's where people fuck up, because they don't know that it gets better after that.
There's light at the end of the tunnel, man. I mean, with me, we were 7 months in, man, on a cut. And I remember talking to you like, dude, man, this is tough, like every single day. And you just kept saying, dude, just wait. This is the hardest part right here. And then as soon as we started raising, I'm like, now, I mean, you've even said like, dude, indulge more, eat a cookie, eat this stuff. And
now I'm encouraging you.
Funny is I can fit those things in my macros, right? It's like, last Friday, Friday or Saturday, I had a full blown like cheesecake. Like that was my favorite, and I hadn't eaten in a while. And, you used to feel guilty when you eat it, and I ate it guilt-free, knowing that I did my workout, I did my cardio, right? You're staying consistent every day in what you're doing. Had my cheesecake, obviously still sticking to my goals, and woke up the same way, or maybe even lost a little. So it's just that consistency day after day after day, week after week after week, now you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor a little bit more,
Pretty much, right? Like we could have fit those things in before, right? Like you could fit in ice cream, you could fit in cheesecake before, but it probably wasn't the smartest decision.
No, because you're getting
less budget. Of your budget. But now that we are adding more calories so aggressively, now it's like, now we're having these conversations like, dude, you're gonna struggle to eat enough if you're eating as clean as you are. Like, here, have the shit that you feel like you've been missing out on the past 8 months. All right, now throw in a slice of pizza, throw in dessert. I mean, obviously don't go overboard with it, but it's like, now it's like, okay, I can make room for these foods, not feel guilty about it, and it's actually contributing to my goal.
Exactly.
It's like the cool thing for you, man. Just you're patient enough to kind of trust the process and get through that part, get through the shitty part, and then it wasn't even that shitty, but get through the.
I mean, but dude, it's life changing, man. I mean, because you think about it, because I mean, that's always the goal, right? It's like you want to be able to still live life, and that's the way you can do it. I mean, I feel like that's the way. Like you can't go throughout your whole life just eating chicken and rice, right? And I feel like that's why people can never make it. So this art of like, okay, let's shed what we need to, right? I wasn't starving myself, but you're in a negative calorie, right? Like you're working out, I was eating Chipotle every day, but I'm still sticking to my goals, and losing weight. And then once you get there, now, man, it's really changed my whole mindset of like, oh man, you can really indulge. Like if you still stick to your goals though, right? That means you can't just, mess around and like, oh, I'm going to start eating like this and then not work out. But if you're still sticking to your goals, then you get to enjoy now more, So
that's where we're at now. I mean, and obviously,
and with that, obviously you're just getting more, what's in the foods, right? It's like the nutrients that you're getting out of every food too. I think that's what you're learning. That's what's really cool too, is like, that's why it's not as guilty when you eat it, it's because
you understand. You understand
you have a great understanding of what you're eating and what you're doing. And like, oh, this is no problem for me because I know what I'm doing,
and I think that's the other good thing about you tracking your food, because it's like, you're like killing two birds with one stone. I think a lot of people get results, but they don't know why. Like they blindly follow like keto, or they blindly follow this. They don't really know why it's working. They just know it's working. And then when it's not working, they don't not adjust. But it's like, I think you've learned enough through tracking your food and doing the workouts consistently that you can troubleshoot when you're not seeing results, or like you understand what goes into it. So now you have the food literacy from reading food labels and scanning your food and tracking what a plate of food looks like when you go out to restaurants, when you're on vacation. You've done it so many times that you could, like, what's in everything. So it's like you have that, you have that food literacy.
Well, and the cool thing is like you can almost you can plan out. You can plan out your cheesecake. You can plan out those things and go, like, okay, cool. I'm going to go off the rails a little bit tonight, right? I plan this date night. There's a lot of people that do date night, and it's like, all right, sweet. It's Saturday night. I know we're going to go to this restaurant. I know I'm going to eat this. I'm going to order a cheesecake. All right, cool. Well, then for my other meals in the day, I'm just going to make sure that my proteins are higher, right? Because I know I'm going to be eating more carbs tonight. And so it's always going to level out, but it's
Yeah.
always just like gaining that knowledge of like, okay, I know what I'm doing. And so that way it makes it so it's guilt free, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's just gaining that knowledge, man, of the food and what you're doing.
Yeah,
So
because nothing about the situation changes. Like you're still gonna go out to eat, and I don't want you guys to have to miss out on family dinners and stuff like that. Because if you have to do that for an extended amount of time, you're probably doing the wrong thing. It's not gonna work out anyway.
yeah,
So the fact that you're doing that doesn't really change, right? Like you're still gonna have the going out to eat. You're still gonna go to
yeah,
Disney, but the
yeah,
only difference is you're self aware enough and you know enough about the process to know that just by doing that doesn't mean you're fucking up. So it's
right.
like it gives you peace of mind to know like if anything, I'm giving myself permission to eat some of these foods, and that's what's keeping me
Yes.
consistent. That
I,
makes
I think me and you were talking about that the other day on text.
sense.
Knowing that you have control. I think that is probably my biggest takeaway of doing all of this is like you have control. You can say, hey, I'm gonna eat this meal, right? That's probably not like good for me, but I know tomorrow I'm gonna get right back on track. It's no big deal for me. Like I'm gonna enjoy this now. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna feel guilty, but you're in this routine that it doesn't even phase you, right? So you just have that self-control of like, oh man, but if I eat this cheesecake, then I'm gonna want another cheesecake and then I'm gonna want some ice cream. And then you derail, right? Because you're like, oh man, that was good. And you really don't know why you're even doing this diet, because you don't know why you're doing it. You're just like,
And
well, I
you
want
can,
to lose some
yeah,
weight, and you're not understanding. But I think when you um having control of like your eating it's a pretty cool feeling, man. I think that's like one of the most things I've been excited about is like you you have control of what you're doing.
yeah,
So it's really cool.
yeah. When you have that knowledge, I think, or when you don't have the knowledge that you have right now from like just doing it so many times, getting the reps in, I think people catastrophize the mistakes. Is that a word? Catastrophize. That's my
Yeah,
mistake. And
sounds like
they
it.
make it bigger than what it is. Yeah, it is now, right? Now they make it bigger than what it is. Like they
Yeah,
go off the rails one day on their diet and they think it's the end of the world and they fucked everything up and then it turns to a week and a month
yeah,
and then
so they just go,
all
well,
right,
screw it, I already screwed up, so what's the point?
yeah. As opposed to doing what you did and saying like, all right, I'm not a victim to this. I'm choosing to go off the rails, and tomorrow I will make the next right decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's the big
Well, and
distinction there.
especially like time after time, we talked about that, right? If like,
Yeah.
I was at 222, I lose weight to 216, and then I go off the rails,
Mhm.
then yeah, it's going to be a lot more detrimental, right? But
Yeah.
since it's like doing it the right way and like, okay, I'm 222, now I'm 195. When I derail for a night, you're really not going to see a big difference because you've been on your foot's been on the gas, right? And so it's just having those good days of like just staying consistent, but still being able to fit what you want. So then as you get down now that I'm seeing, okay, I'm at 185, 183, whatever. And it feels like you get to indulge like even more so.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like a numbers thing at the end of the day. Like
Yeah.
I would say to you, like the longer you're consistent, the more you can get away with just from a numbers
Yes,
perspective.
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to
Yeah.
say.
You
It's your
start getting that.
consistency. The longer you stay consistent, then you're the more you're able to get
Get
away with
away.
it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we've both noticed that. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, I mean, just at this point, we see we're obviously down 40 pounds from where we started. I guess the main drive home point here with the nutrition is like, yo, it doesn't have to suck. And if it does suck, it doesn't have to suck forever. It does get a lot better.
Well, that's
And
the thing. I mean, that cut, it didn't really suck. I mean, after about like 7, 8 months, that's a long time. But just for me, like, so whoever's going to end up listening or watch this, like, if you can do a diet, right, for 8 months, obviously it wasn't that sucky because I would go to say that most diets don't last more than like 2, 3 weeks, right? When you start just cutting out completely everything. I wasn't cutting out everything. Like I lost another 10 pounds by eating McDonald's and Chipotle. Um,
yeah, it
you
doesn't.
know, and made it work. So, I mean, it didn't suck by any means. I think it was just more of like, okay, I just want to get to this goal, right? We've been working at it so long. And then now that we're in a different goal now, it's just hitting those different milestones.
Yeah.
So
And now we're working up in the other direction. We can eat that
now we're
shit.
looking in the other direction. Yeah.
You set yourself up because you put in this work for this 8-month period. So
Man, anything that's worth something is going to take some work, you
yeah,
know? So
Yeah, man. Choose your, what do they say? Choose your hard, choose your suck,
choose
whatever.
your hard, man. Well, and if it was so easy, everyone would be doing it, you know?
Yeah.
So
But it
it,
doesn't have to be that bad. That's what we're saying.
it doesn't have to be that bad, man. And I learned that super quick. Cause I mean, you know, you set it up to where it's like, okay, start out with 4 months with me and see how it goes. And before the 4 months were even over, what was I, month 2? And I was like, Dallas, dude, we're going a year. So as soon as that, as soon as those 4 months was up, we immediately signed up for a year. So, I mean, obviously, there was a lot of good, and it wasn't bad. You
Yeah,
know,
it didn't suck.
it
Like,
wasn't bad.
you
I mean,
probably thought you'd be suffering more than you were. It wasn't that bad.
oh, I mean, and well, that's the biggest change though, right? Any type of diet change that you make, um, I feel like the first week or 2 is going to be your hardest
Yeah.
because you're completely changing. After that, man, dude, it just turns into clockwork. You know, you remember? I mean, uh, I was, I mean, just to get better at it, you're always logging your food the day before. Um, and I'm to the point now where I just log my food day of. As I eat, I'm logging it
Yeah, because you already know it's gonna work.
because I already know it's going to work, right? I mean, you start doing it so long, you know, it's like, oh, I'm going to eat this, this, and this. Plug it in. All right, cool. All right, oh, I'm going to eat this. Okay, log that. And then, I mean, I'm logging dinner like an hour before we eat dinner, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm done. You know, and I'm always within either at 0 or, you know, anywhere from 0 to 10 calories, you know, off.
Right.
So yeah, man, it's just staying consistent and listening to what you say, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Easy work.
It,
So
it, dude,
what would you give what would you give, what piece of advice, damn, can't talk. What piece of advice would you give somebody who was in your shoes 8 months ago, man? Like, kind of feel, you know, you're working out, kind of feel like you're spinning your wheels, and it's just like, all right, damn, how do I get better, man? Like,
dude,
feel
just
like I
take
don't
the
have to,
leap.
yeah.
Take the leap. Just try it. Like, what do you have to lose, right? I feel like I was kind of at rock bottom. I didn't have anywhere to turn. Because you know, you tried everything. You know, you always get these bodybuilding.com. It's always the same stuff. Um,
Generic ass.
and you, yeah, and you feel like you're in a rut. Like for me, I was in a rut. It was right after Christmas. I'd put on weight. Um, and you just kind of like, for me, I liked working out. Working out for me is like a hobby, right? It's just my lifestyle. So I never had a problem with that. But um, you get to the point, you know, sometimes I always had those questions like, man, what is this all for? Like, I go to the gym every day and I see that guy over here doesn't work out as hard as I do. And he's got a 6-pack. He's ripped. Like, what am I doing
There's got to
wrong?
be something doing. Yeah,
There's got to
like,
be something, you know? So obviously, like that always kept in the back of my head, like, dude, obviously there's something that I'm not doing, you know? And so for me, it was just, dude, I did it. Like, just had trust, you know, that it was going to work out. And obviously I know we've talked about this tons of times, but you were just different, man. The moment that we talked, like it was different. Like you were almost, it wasn't like, oh dude, here, sign up for this and let's get you started. No, it was like, hey man, I'm going to interview you. And I don't know if you're going to be a right fit for what I do. And it's, you know, and so that right
well,
off
it's
the bat,
mutual, man. You got to, yeah.
oh
You got
wow,
the same
you know,
thing.
yeah, you were
Yeah.
filling it out like, hey, I
Yeah.
may not be right for you, you may not be right for
Right,
me,
right.
but
Yeah.
let's check it out, let's see what your goals are. And dude, that was big for me. You know, there was just a few little things that you said that like, oh, that makes sense, you know. And so yeah, for anyone who's like looking to get into it, if they thought about it, dude, just do it. Like you won't regret it. I mean, it's only up from here, right? And so that was my situation. It's only up. And so man, I shot you that text on, dude, I was just sitting in the gym on what, Friday, and just had so much gratitude, man. Like
I appreciate it, man. Yeah,
you
that means a lot.
see you see the differences, like my weights. I mean, like bench, squat, deadlifts. I mean, dude, my weights have gone up what, 100 pounds on some things, 150 pounds on squat, like and I was 40 pounds heavier, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, you got
So
stronger while losing a lot of weight too. So
yeah, man. And we kept like the majority of my muscle, you know?
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for anyone listening, and we just had one of my boys sign up, you know, I was
Yeah.
telling him the same thing. Cause he was thinking about it. He was just like, man, I've been having these issues. I don't know what to do. And I just said, look, man, just do it. Stop thinking about it. Just do it, you know?
Yeah.
And dude, he texts me every day, like, dude, this is awesome. Like,
Yeah,
he's already seen a difference.
yeah,
Right.
I just talked to him before this, man. That's
Yeah.
why
He's already seen a difference. And
yeah.
how long has he been? A week and a half?
Yeah, about a week and a half.
he's already seen a difference, man, you know? So, I mean, dude, you just gotta make the leap, do it, you know?
Listen
So
to your boy Zach. He's saying stop messing around. But
stop messing
yeah, you
around, man.
got to put the work in like these guys, man. Like Zach is no pretender, man. He's been doing this for 8 months. He hasn't really missed a day in the gym ever since we got everything set. Been tracking his food every day. He's been coachable. Like that's what it takes, man. That's why we have these conversations about, hey, are we a good fit for each other? So,
Yeah.
no harm in that. But I appreciate you.
And it's not all business, man. I mean, we talk sports, we chop it up, you know. That's the thing with Dallas too, man. I mean, I'll text him during the week, just we say what's up, you know. So it's like it's very personable too, you know.
Yeah.
It's not just like, hey, do this and that's it. Like just do it, you know. It's not like that at all, man. He pushes you to be a better version of yourself, essentially, you know. And so for me, I wanted that. You know, it's like someone holding you accountable in a good way, like, hey man, you got this, let's do this, you know. So no, it's been life-changing for me. You know, I know we've talked about that. So yeah, we're on to the next phase, man, and we don't have any plans of stopping. So
so we're gonna put on some size, probably get them up to what 200 plus, right around there. Just and then that's the cycle, man. Like you spend most of the time kind of eating more food and putting on more size. And then when it's time to cut for the summer or whatever your goals are short term, you take 2 or 3 months to do that. And it's not as hard each time. And then each time you get leaner, you look a little better. You look a little more muscular. You may go down to the same weight, but you look different. Your body composition is better to your standards at that point. So,
well, that's the thing, man. We've been together 8 months and you're still, I mean, every week, every day, like I'm learning something new, you know. I know we've talked a lot about food on that end, because I know a lot of people struggle with that. But I mean, if there's people watching and listening that are more wondering about workouts and how you lift and everything, like I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface on that, man. You know, and I've been with you 8 months. So just the knowledge on that end too of hey, you can do the same workouts every day. You can do the same workouts every week, but you're pushing yourself and adding a little bit of weight, or, you know, you're adding another rep or whatever it may be. You know, form. I mean, dude, we're still working on that stuff, you know? So it's
like
never ending.
Yeah. It's always like a ongoing process like that. Cause you solve one problem like with form and then you find another.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. And as far as like, you know, money wise, it's an investment in yourself, man. That's how you got to think about it. It's an investment in your health, your well-being, just overall healthy, man, you know? So it's good. It's been
man,
good.
we getting to work, man. We're gonna shoot the shit about football. We're gonna do all
That's
that.
it.
Yeah, that's always a big thing. But
That's it. Us Cardinals are in shambles, man, but we still chop it up.
With basketball season coming up, we got all that too. So no, it's always a lot of fun, man.
Good, man.
And you've been a pleasure to work with, obviously. I appreciate you hopping on here. I do gotta cut this. I gotta get on the call here. Actually, gotta get on another check-in in a few.
Let's do it.
Yeah, hold on, let me cut this out.